Hi everyone. Today markets tried to go higher and they just could not do it. We ended up pulling back to some support. We still have a little bit of support here, but let's take a quick look at the charts as we head into the weekend and see what we can anticipate for next week. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at fear and greed, this stepped up to a 49 from a 46 yesterday. Interesting to see it stepping up even with markets pulling back. Momentum still neutral. Strength and breadth hovering here. You can see still extreme fear on strength, but breadth stepping up into regular fear. That'll be interesting. We're kind of back into this a little bit more normalized range, but nothing crazy. Put call ratio, extreme greed. That makes sense. Volatility still neutral. Safe haven demand pulling back, stepping into fear. Interesting. And then junk bonds still have not moved. Quick look at the economic data. You can see manufacturing PMI came in a little better than expectations. Good there. Services PMI worse than expectations, but still above the 50 number. Existing home sales also a little better there. Like to see all of that. Inflation data in line or lower. Again, overall pretty good data here for today. Then quick look at the charts. You can see we tried to go higher, gave some of that back, closing right at the level 607.03. Touched that level at the end of the session. Very slight bounce. Waiting for this 55 EMA on the hourly to continue to consolidate there. Once we get below it, I think that's going to be pretty bad here. One more step and we should flatten out and then start to see this pull back. Looking for a move back into that 21 EMA potentially, which is about $14 lower potentially in there. So looking for this zone. We'll see if it breaks down from there as we head into next week, but right now it looks a little bearish. And then looking at the Tasty charts just for a moment, you can see with that push down, we are in bearish conditions. So all of these rallies were sold. We're below that 8 EMA. Everything says a little bit bearish here. On the Tasty charts, we're in that 34 EMA zone, looking to retest the 55 down there at 605.94 on the hourly. Then looking at the Qs, similar thesis, but a little bit even more bearish here. You can see really clear double top at that 533.17 level. That was the level we had on the charts. Came in here and tested it, broke down. Pushed through the next one at 530. Pretty decent selling there on the hourly. Had a little bounce into the end of the session, but now we're selling more after hours. Everything says this should go lower. We're below all the EMAs on the short time frame there on the hourly. Just waiting for the S&Ps to catch up in my opinion, but this looks like this consolidation here is going to break. The low from yesterday held up, but I don't think that's going to hold into the Monday. So we'll see. Look for some of these gap fills. I think it's going to go much lower. And same thesis here on the momentum. I think it has at least one more step and then we'll flatten out and start to roll down. And then we'll see a push down into this zone here, 519 or so. Retest the SMA on the daily chart, and then we'll see what happens after that. Similarly here on the Russell, we have it topping out at that 299.18 level. We've touched it 3 days in a row, stepped down again here today. Momentum stepping down, RSI stepping down. Short-term pullback, looks like we're headed for that. And then looking at the Dow, 445.16 was the level we've been talking about. We touched it yesterday. We got below it here today, touched it again, and then sold off. Momentum going to flatten out. RSI looking for the retest, continuation higher. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple was down 0.39. We're still right in this trend line zone. Momentum continues to roll up here. Still looking for a little bit of a relief rally off of this kind of consolidation zone. Hasn't really started to do anything yet. We're still in the same zone. And then looking at Microsoft inside candle, selling after hours. Expecting to see very similar price action from Microsoft as we are looking for on the major indices. Moving over to Tesla and NVDA, we were pretty bearish here on Tesla and it did continue lower, 1.41%, looking for this trend to break. Once that goes, I think we're headed back down to here around the 384 area. And then looking at NVIDIA, big down day, big outside day too. So we gapped up, tried to go higher, tried to hit the level, and we couldn't. Sold off, closed well below the bodies of the previous candles. Definitely headed lower, momentum stepping down. Everything says this should go a little bit lower here on the Monday. So big reversal, outside reversal day. Usually a very bearish signal, and I would expect some follow through on that in NVIDIA. Moving over to Meta and Broadcom, both of these did really well. You can see Meta up 1.7%, came right to the trend like we expected it to, did close above it. We'll see what happens. Is this going to reverse now? It is all-time highs, so hard to say. Meta looks very good, and then Broadcom gapped up and dojied, nothing crazy, still in the same kind of consolidation range. It's close to the high of the range, so if we do get another kind of push in here, maybe we head for this target up here around 266. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, we got the pullback retest continuation on staples, so that looks very good, up about 0.5%. Now we have a trend line here waiting to see what happens at that level, and then looking at discretionary sold off. Definitely a risk-off style day here. Closing below the trend, expecting this to sell off a little bit more next week. Moving over to breadth, 20-day breadth, still not moving a whole lot, still in the same consolidation range. We've talked about it many times. It can hang out here for a while before we see sells, but we've been here for a couple of days now. Momentum is starting to fade a little bit more. We'll see what happens now. And then looking at 50-day, touched the level finally, 52.81, and then sold off from that level with momentum stepping down. So again, pretty much the same as everything else, looking for a pullback, higher low setup continuation, or if it just rips through there to the downside, that's going to be obviously very bearish. Moving over to the dollar finally got a little bit of a flush out here today. We talked about it with this kind of consolidation move down, big flush here to the level, consolidation, big flush to that 55 EMA. We touched it, caught a little bit of a bounce, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Dollar finally showing a little bit more weakness. We haven't touched that 55 EMA since this rally started back here in October. Dollar finally slowing down a little bit. Interesting. And the weird thing with that is the dollar's starting to roll over a little bit, and equities are finally looking a little bit more weak as well. So equities were strong during this kind of move down here. Now the dollar is breaking down and equities are kind of hesitating at that level. So kind of a weird situation. We'll see if these kind of move together next week, potentially. Moving over to bonds. Bonds continue their rally up 0.1 and 0.45 respectively. Is this the higher low? That would be great. We're back above the 21 EMA, momentum back to bullish. Interesting. RSI looking good. Again, this is your opportunity in my opinion. It's going to be a local bottom at least. Is it going to be a longer term? Still hard to say, but in here, I think is a good opportunity for these long-term bonds. Whether you play it with TLT or another ETF, I still like bonds and I am still buying them. Moving over to my accounts, I was actually trading fairly well and then I had a kind of a bad trade there at the end of the session, which was a bit of a bummer, but overall not terrible. I think I was down about $400 on the day, with the NASDAQ being down basically the same, almost $4 on the day. And I am absolutely flat going into next week. So I took off my Russell position. I was definitely concerned that we were at a key resistance. I think we're going to sell off, and I think I'll get a better entry on that. Plus, I was in profit on that year to date. I just want to leave it alone here. I think we're in good position. And then looking at my main account, down $600, nothing crazy, like I said. If we start to get that sellout flush next week, potentially into 2 weeks from now, I think that's going to be a good opportunity. So that's what I'm looking for. I didn't want to be short because the market really hasn't rolled over quite yet, but also it does not look to me like we're going to be going higher, at least over the next couple days. So I didn't want to be long either. And it's okay. If you don't have a thesis, you don't need to be in markets. It's absolutely fine. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of this pattern. Does it look like a top to you, or does it look like just a hesitation on the way to higher highs? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.